Hi, I'm Mike Morris. Welcome to another episode of Open Mic. Today we have Nicole Small, who is the vice chair of the Detroit Charter Commission, and Brenda Hill, who was running for the State House 10th District in Redford in Detroit, who was told that she won the race, and later she is now not the winner, and she thinks that there was some foul play and some fraud, and we're going to dive into all of that.
You never know who you're going to see.
I beat one guy one-on-one my whole career. It's timing. It's for the clinching goal to bring the trophy back.
What you're going to hear.
We got a lot of desperate people in the city. They're desperate because they don't have opportunity.
Or what they've got to say.
When you can take people inside of a crime, show them things they wouldn't normally see.
The truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. That's what you're going to hear on my podcast, Open Mic. Find it where you find your podcasts.
Ladies, thank you for coming to Open Mic.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
So let's, this is a crazy story. It's all over the news, Brenda. But I think you should probably, tell us what happened. Tell us what happened.
First of all, the presumptive winner, but I won, was never even in the conversation as the campaign went on. Never in the conversation. Actually, I questioned if she even came in number 3. She was not in the conversation that much. She did not run a campaign. She readily admits she didn't campaign for most of June. June is when the first set of absentee ballots went out. So campaigns have 2 sections. The first part, you're running for the absentee ballots that usually go out 45 days before the election. And then your second half of the campaign, you're campaigning for those who go election day. But during COVID, so many ballots were sent out by the Secretary of State. You really had to run a dual campaign the whole time, election day and absentee this go around. That meant that you usually pay attention to the most likely voters. We had to pay attention to every voter this time. So I was on the streets all the time, dropping lit, every day, all day, every day. And I never saw that person. I barely saw any signs until the 3 weeks before the election. There was no sign of her.
What was the name of this woman?
You say it.
I get to say it?
Yes.
Is it Mary Kavanaugh?
Yes.
Okay.
Part of the Kavanaugh clan.
So Mary Kavanaugh.
C is not just for Kavanaugh, it's for cheater, corruption.
Okay. So let's bring Nicole Small in. Now, you're a citywide elected official. You're the vice chair of the Detroit Charter Commission. What does your job entail at the Detroit Charter Commission?
Right now, we are revising the charter, so we are going to be changing what government looks like and how it operates. Right now, we operate under districts. There are some proposals on the table for us to possibly go back to at-large instead of having city council districts. The structure of the police commission can possibly change. Also, the powers that the executive branch with the mayor has could possibly change, and it could actually lean more towards the legislative branch, which means council would in turn have a little bit more power.
Okay. So why are you here with Brenda Hill? What do you think happened in this district race?
Well, first of all, not only am I a supporter of Brenda Hill, but I'm a constituent. I'm a resident in District 10. So it's really important to me that we ensure that at all levels of government, but especially at the state level, that we have someone to advocate for even the least of us, for our interests. We've seen a lot of things take place in the last couple of years, not only with insurance for Detroiters, but also when we talk about these Brownsfields and these TIFs being given to these multimillionaires and billionaires, and the communities get zero return on their investment. So Brenda Hill is a candidate I trust. She's been a fighter for the people prior to even running for office. Actually, I was one of the people who pushed her and encouraged her to run. So around, maybe 6:30 in the morning, I woke up the day after Election Day. I looked at the numbers. Brenda Hill was still in the lead. But you couldn't wait because all of the precincts had not been counted for all of Wayne County.
Right.
And so around or before 12, the Wayne County website said that all of the precincts for Wayne
100%.
County had been counted. So at that time, we knew that Brenda Hill had won. She had a sizable lead to number 2 candidate, and then the number 3 candidate was Mary Kavanaugh. Around 1:45, I noticed numbers changing. And then I went back to the city's website. None of those numbers changed for the city of Detroit, so it only had to be referred. Around an hour later, 2:45, there was a surge of votes that came in, and it took the number 3 candidate who Brenda had a far lead over her. Took the number 3 candidate and made her number 1. They found 3,800 votes for this candidate. And I'm going to tell you something. I have been to several election commission meetings over the years. I've been to several Wayne County Board of Canvassers meetings, which is actually the entity that certifies the elections for all of Wayne County. I've never seen that number of ballots to come in after all of the precincts have been counted. While keep in mind, you get a few here and there, especially with write-in candidates, and maybe a few ballots may come up, but to have almost 4,000 ballots and to go to a candidate that I know for a fact wasn't visible in Redford, nor was she really visible in Detroit. I live in one of the highest voting precincts in this district. Never saw her. Never received a robocall, but what I did receive was a mailer, which was less than 5 days prior to the election. Again,
which means that the absentee ballots, the initial absentee ballots that went out about June 20th, she was not even a part of.
That's right.
So if you weren't a part of the first set of absentee ballots, how now did you get more absentee ballots and those that they found right before? And needless to say, this was the next day. This was not election day. This was Wednesday at 3:00. This was not Tuesday. Oakland County counted over 50,000 ballots and were done by 5:00 election day. We're talking about a tiny town that's never been a major player in this House district before, and now they've come and took down Detroit. It's never been.
And point out that absentee ballots, because they come in prior to election day, they actually can start to be counted at 7 a.m. on election day when the polls open. So you mean to tell me that a township who only had a small section of this entire township, you couldn't count those ballots in a timely manner? At 2:30 in the morning, I understand that there were still some people at the clerk's office counting ballots. So there's no way that it should have taken them until 3:00 the next day to count these ballots.
So there's a lot of little things here, and they're all adding up. But what happened? July 22nd, a Wayne County judge issued a restraining order against Redford Township Clerk Garth Christie and the staff, forced them to leave the office that day and barred them from working during the primary. What happened with that?
Well, another trustee said that they were bullying and there were some racial issues with them. Ding, ding, ding. And they were removed.
Is Mary Kavanaugh, is that her name, Mary Kavanaugh?
Yeah, and her mother is
she white?
Yes, of course.
Okay. Well, I don't know her. Okay.
Well, she's the granddaughter of James Kavanaugh, who was the mayor of Detroit during the riots, and the father of Phil Kavanaugh, who had this seat before. So she's a part of a political machine that didn't do anything.
Okay, so that was something different. Had nothing to do with you. What's this?
No.
Deputy Clerk Tina Ricow said at the time that more than 2,000 ballots were compromised because somebody went in our office and gained access to keys at the ballot box.
That's right.
When was that?
That was sometime within the 2.5 first days
of the election
of them being removed.
So the superintendent of Redford actually, so the TRO was issued. So the judge put in a restraining order and removed the clerk and the deputy clerk out of the office.
Did you guys have anything to do with that lawsuit?
No,
Okay.
no. This was all. This is internal from Redford, and this has been going on for some time.
So they had already received. I'm just trying to get my facts straight.
Okay.
They had already received lots of absentee ballots on July 22nd.
Yes.
When the judge says, get out of the office.
Yes.
So who came in to help
So
Redford?
the superintendent for Redford actually identified a person who works in another department, not in the clerk's office, had them sworn in, and said that they will now take over. So what the deputy clerk actually witnessed is whoever this person is, that they will not reveal their identity. They will not tell us what department that they previously worked in. before being the interim staff person, which we question because
Yes.
we have a feeling that person might work for Lillian Kavanaugh, Mary Kavanaugh's daughter. But with that said, this person had keys to the office and access to the ballot box. Now, these are the ballot bins which are supposed to remain secure
Yes.
until election day. This person dumped the ballot bins, which were over 2,000 ballots, and then they did it without any witnesses at
Yes.
all. I'm gonna tell you, even in the city of Detroit, our clerk Janice Winfrey, we've never heard of her
Absolutely
emptying
not.
ballot bins without a witness at all. And you also have to be authorized to do that.
And so they already had this TRO in place. So you would have thought they were extra careful about following the process. How are they so haphazardly handling absentee ballots? Plus, we got the coronavirus going on, and the Secretary of State sending applications out to everyone who's a registered voter. So they should have been more careful about what was going on.
So this township, Redford Township Superintendent Diane Webb, who's the person you just mentioned, she's standing by the election as of right now.
Well, what does she have to do with it?
I don't know.
Right,
But she's
why is she
setting.
the
She's putting out.
superintendent?
Well, that's what you said. I don't know. I don't understand how these things.
The deputy clerk was actually removed, and the deputy clerk is saying that she witnessed whoever this person is that they put in the interim
Right.
actually emptied the ballot bin, and so therefore it was compromised. Now you have a superintendent who's stating that she is confident that this entire process was conducted with full integrity and transparency. No, it's not, because you have election laws and you have processes that must be in place, and it definitely appears that those ballots have been compromised. Any compromised ballot must be voided. It's a
Right.
spoiled ballot.
That's right.
That's not just for Redford. That's everywhere.
And why is she inserting herself? She has nothing to do with it.
with
Yes.
elections.
You guys are in sync with your messaging
Yes.
here today. So you guys want Jocelyn Benson, our great Secretary of State, to come in and conduct an investigation.
Well, they actually came in that day that the clerk and the deputy clerk were removed. I guess just to take note of what was the process and what was taking place. So we're asking them to not only conduct a full investigation into the compromised ballots, but also we would like to know what they observed. They were there that day. That's really important, to get some type of affidavit statement from the Secretary of State representative that came from Lansing that day, that came into the office. That's important
and
as
you
well.
guys don't know any of that yet.
No.
But what could have happened? Who's going to bring in 3,000 fake absentee ballots and lay them at the doorstep of Redford? I mean, is that even a thing these days? How do you
Yeah, but the
cheat? I don't know. How do you cheat?
So absentee ballots.
Well, we're not evil, so we don't have the
Okay, but
right answer for you. What we're saying is it's been done before. In
just
Jim
usually in
Crow
the middle of the
era,
night.
then the Jim Crow era, that's what they did to black votes. That's how they do. That's how they do it. We're not going back to there. We're not going back to slavery. We're not doing any of that. So 3,000 votes have been compromised before and dropped on the doorstep. This is not new. But in 2020, in the middle of the day after the election, we're not having it.
How many votes are they saying you lost by?
1,100, like 1,100 votes, which doesn't even add up. They came up with over 3,000 votes for her, and they said that means that she was 2,000 votes behind me when I was declared the winner, and now she's 1,000 votes ahead of me.
Were those 2,000 ballots that Deputy Clerk Tina Ricow, were those counted? Do we know?
We don't know. We don't know.
And those were the ones that were
What-
compromised somehow.
Well, I tell you what, we have not seen any documentation that they've spoiled over 2,000 ballots. So I would say yes, whether those actual ballots were counted or there were some other ballots put in place to be counted, which we've dealt with that for quite some time in the city of Detroit. We don't know which way it happened, but we do know that there are 2,000 ballots that were
Over
compromised,
2,000, yeah.
and they should be spoiled.
And also, the deputy clerk the city clerk, they have not been allowed to speak on this. I mean, we've been raising sand since the second this happened. You can't disenfranchise that many people and expect to just let it slide by unless you believe you got some kind of privilege. They said they mailed out 10,000 ballots and got about 8,000 ballots back. That has happened nowhere, period, in this coronavirus era, let alone in the days before, in the years before coronavirus. So they're saying 80% of the ballots came back. That means 80% of the people they sent, nobody has those kind of numbers. This was a primary.
An uptick during the corona.
Yeah, this was a primary.
There's going to be an uptick in absentee ballots.
But not like that. But if you go across the whole country, people were looking at 25%, maybe 30% return. 80% anywhere? No way.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
So you have support from the Black Slate, Michigan Democratic Black Caucus, Dignity for Detroit, Detroit Coalition for Peace, the People's Action Coalition, National Action Network Detroit, Council of Baptist Pastors. You have lots of good support.
Church of the Messiah, Barry Randolph.
So why do you think there's been such a fast and fierce response from all these organizations?
People understand what's at stake. What's at stake? This is bigger than this particular election. But when you talk about stealing an election, whether it's from a small township or from a large city, that means that we have voters out here and their votes aren't counting. And we're up against a huge feat. The majority of residents in both Detroit and some in Rutherford, they're Democratic, and we know what we're facing for the November election. I mean, to have elections to be stolen, and then it also frustrates voters. It compromises the work that we do on a day-to-day basis. We're always encouraging people to come out and vote. And if their vote's not going to be counted, and if their vote is going to be compromised, then what does that say? That will in turn send a message to people that it's no purpose in them voting.
And the vote it's supposed to be sacrosanct. Well, up there with Jesus Christ and Buddha, and we push that every day. And to let these people come in and steal one vote, everybody today. 3 or 4 of my opponents stood with me. There are people that ran in Redford that stand with me, and they're filing complaints as well. In fact, 3 of them went to the police department and said a crime was committed. There's a police report as of yesterday.
So what's the next step?
The next step is we hope that this full investigation that has been launched by the Secretary of State, which now has been moved up to the Director for the Bureau of Elections, we're hoping to get a response quickly about that. So that will only address the compromised ballots. Then August the 18th is next Tuesday. Mm-hmm. That's when the Wayne County Democratic Board of Canvassers actually certify the election. Once the election is certified, then Brenda Hill can put in for a challenge where we have a recount.
So recounts next, and litigation potentially after that, and Well, if we find out, if we get proof and a determination that these votes have been compromised, then she goes back to being the winner. Right now, to us, she is the winner. Lansing has already called her to come up to begin her process for orientation. She is the winner. And I'm going to tell you, Lansing never contacts you without making sure that the majority of precincts have been counted. They contacted her because she's the winner of this election. Brenda Hill won. So the $1 million question is, where did these 4,000 extra absentee ballots come from?
Yes.
And who delivered them? You think that Mary Kavanaugh miraculously came up with 4,000 extra votes and delivered it on their doorsteps?
I think the Kavanaugh machine did it. She may just be a pawn in it, and she's taken advantage of it. But she actually ran her race like she'd already won. She ran no race.
So you think she knew she was going to win?
Yes.
What is she? Who is she?
We don't. She's nobody.
She's a daughter of Phil Kavanaugh.
Granddaughter of Jerome Kavanaugh.
When Phil Kavanaugh left the state seat, I believe he went to work with Bob Ficano at the time, and then now he's working with the Wayne County Treasurer's Office. I mean, he definitely has some roots in politics, and Detroit politics as well. He knows a lot of ins and outs and integral parts to campaigning and making elections that are not in your favor somehow become in your favor. We understand that this is within his wheelhouse, not necessarily his daughter's. but he wants her there. He has
And
more
she didn't
passion
even-
about it than she does, and that's clear to everyone.
And we were in a couple of screenings, and she opted out. She came on and
said
said
she had a bad day. She's not going to participate.
bad day.
She's just going to listen.
So who's Brenda Hill, and why do you want this job, Brenda Hill?
Well, first of all, I'm Brenda Hill.
But what's your background?
Google me. Google me.
Well,
And
I don't
in
have time for that.
Listen,
Tell me who
if
you are.
Google me, I'm sitting there two people down from Mother Teresa. That's actual.
Okay, I'll do that.
Yes,
but
however, I'm a real community leader. I'll tell you what happened. It's been 11 years, and my son, who I adopted, was murdered in Detroit. He was 22, about to graduate from college. He didn't even have a parking ticket, along with his friend Melinda. She was 19. He was walking her and her friends to her car, and two guys came along, and they say they were trying to carjack him. He got a bullet in the back of the head for it, and she got shot in the
I'm
chest.
so sorry. That
And
is horrible.
Yes, and two college students. And I was standing in my living room waiting for somebody to call me. Detroit has 5,000 churches, as many community groups. The police didn't call me. Nobody called me. And I had to say, what am I going to do? I thought that Detroit loved their children. These were the best and brightest, not because they were mine. Nobody came to help. And I had to help myself and help other people not to be me. Every day I wake up, before I take my first conscious breath, I have to remember Brandon does not breathe. I want nobody to be me. And then I saw that the streets were running red with the blood of our children, and I had to do something. And so eventually I had to quit my job, because I asked the chief of police, 7 chiefs of police in Detroit. We had 7 police chiefs in 7 years. They barely can handle what happens on their watch. They're not going to care about what happened on someone else's watch. And that's what I had to deal with. And I'm vocal. Actually, I'm very shy. But I had to get up and do it. And there are people out there that can't speak like me. And I have to save them and work for them as well. I found several murderers, several rapists, all of that. But I have not found the people who did this to Brandon and Melinda. And so in that, I had to give myself over to this work. And that's what I've been doing. I'm not just a community leader. I'm a leader of the community. When the cameras aren't on and the people aren't watching, I still do the community work.
I'm glad I asked that question. Thank you for sharing your story. It's heartbreaking, and I have a 20-year-old at home, and I that is a really sad story. So I'm sorry, but thank you for sharing, and I hope you guys get to the bottom of this election. We all want, transparency with our elections. We want the person who was voted to be the one to win. We got a big election coming up in November, and we want, we don't like to hear stories like this, do we?
No.
We want the
don't.
elections to go off without a hitch.
We want fair elections.
We want fair elections. So I hope you guys get to the bottom of it. Please call me. Let's do this again once we
You're
get to
already
the
part
truth.
of the family.
Well, you mentioned that you were kind enough to send clients to us in the past, and they had good experiences.
Yes,
I hope.
Absolutely.
Thank you for doing
Yes,
that.
when I see you running down the street, I say, you're running after my nephew.
Well, thank you both for being
Thank
here.
you.
It was a real pleasure to meet you
Yes,
both.
thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for watching another episode of Open Mic. I'm Mike Morris. Today we had Nicole Small and Brenda Hill talking about how the 10th District House race was stolen from Brenda Hill, according to Brenda and Nicole. If you like this episode or you know anybody into politics, forward it to them. Subscribe to this podcast, comment, like, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.